What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning into the Local Crown podcast, where we're going to teach you how to wage war on your competition and earn your local crown, also known as the top spot on Google. What kind of experiences with anxiety and depression did you have on your journey, man?
So I'm actually kind of blessed in that sense and kind of harsh in that sense too. So my wife always tells me that if people want an asshole, they'll come to you. Because I feel like, my thing is I don't really express much of my emotions. A lot of what I do, I kind of just keep to myself. I'm always very, in one sense, I don't have a feeling. On the other sense, I'm very conscious of like things that happen. I'll give you an example. So like when my parents are, well, actually my kids now. So when I have my kids or my wife, they're going to go out somewhere, right? They're just going to go to Walmart or they're going to go to the park or whatever. They hop in the car and they go. Things like, this is the last time I've seen them, pop into my head. Like, that's it. Like, this is it. They're going to drive down the street. Some bus is going to hit them and that's going to be the end of them. Like, that thought crosses my mind often. And so for me, it's like I've already experienced that worst case scenario in my mind, and I can focus in on like, what's the next step? What's the next thing that I'm going to be working on? I'm tried so much to acknowledge the reality of what can happen so that I can focus on what the next step is. I don't try to dwell. I try to avoid dwelling on the where am I at and how does it hurt today, and focus more of my attention on a process to go to the next step. So for example, right now, we're stuck in quarantine, right? I'm a big proponent of going to the gym every morning, and I would get up at 4:30 every morning and I would be at the gym by 5, right? And I would have my 4-mile run and my workout back home by 6. And it's just, I'm very regimented in my time. Well, with this quarantine, like all the gyms got shut down, I can't do that anymore. So I forced myself. I still get up at my 4:30. I start my day. I have a 5 a.m. club that I'm on a call with, kind of like an accountability partner to make sure that I'm up in the morning. And what do I do for a workout? So now I started doing 50 push-ups and 50 sit-ups every hour. I set my timer on my cell phone, right? So every hour at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, my alarm goes off, and I just hit the deck. And it is it as good a workout as what I was doing at the gym? No, but I become a person who this is what I do, right? It's not so much like the consistency. It's more important to be the consistent person than it is to like have this huge ambition, like of having, I don't know, 6-pack ripped abs and running marathons or something. The process is what keeps me focused because I know what's coming next. I know what I need to do next. If I dwell in the moment, if I could have sat there and just said, well, screw it, I can't go to the gym. I guess it's just time to get big and, sit back on the couch and sleep in. Like, you could fall into that trap. But if you continue to keep with your consistent schedule and be like, no, I am the person who gets up early. I am the person who works out every day. I am the person who does this. Like, you're defining yourself as an individual and you're going through the process, even if it's not the same process you were already used to. Hope that helps a little bit.
That's a great answer, man. That's a different answer, but it's awesome. Like, that's a really beautiful way of looking at it, honestly. I know that's kind of how I approach things in a really similar way as well. Like, I mean, I have those thoughts a lot of the time, like you said, where I live with my family right now, and whenever they go somewhere with everything going on, I'm like, oh man, like, this could literally be the last time I see them with this all that's going on. And then I realized, I'm like, okay, so I can't really focus on that. It doesn't do me any good to focus on that. So I'm going to recognize that I feel that. And then when they get home, I'm going to be excited to see them. Like, that's kind of where I'm at. Cause if I'm sitting here worried about it, like, now I got to deal with it twice. And I actually just talked I talked to somebody about this earlier as well. And they said, when you worry about something, when you focus on the anxiety, you're just making yourself experience it twice. If it does happen. And then if it doesn't happen, you're just making yourself experience it anyways.
Well, that's what anxiety is. Anxiety is really, in your mind, you've already imagined the worst case scenario. And so you're expecting that worst case scenario. Whether or not it happens doesn't matter. It's you thinking of that worst case scenario. So if you do a process rather than worrying about what the end result is going to be and assuming you already failed, because that's where it is, right? When you have something, you're thinking of the end result, you're assuming it already went wrong, right? And so you're caught in that endgame, losing endgame type scenario. So, Tony Stark in the Endgame movie kind of had that same scenario. He kind of starts hyperventilating on stuff because he can kind of already see a doomed ending. You know what I mean? And when you see a doomed ending, you can't help but to feel cornered and trapped, right? So people in quarantine right now feel the same way. Like let's talk about this COVID, for example. Look, chances are you're gonna get it at some point here in the future, right? It's not a matter of if, it's more of a matter of when. And so if you can't have that aspect of it, what can you do? You can maintain your health curriculum. You can maintain eating habits. You can maintain, your workout regimens and just continue to go forward to be as healthy as possible so that when you get it, hopefully you fight it off like the normal flu and you'll be good to go, right? Because you can't, and the worst case scenario is let's say somebody even told you the end of your life happens next month. Like, okay, so what do you do with that information? If you can do two things. You can take from today to that point and live the best possible life you can, or you can take today and to that point and drown your sorrows, right? And so I just choose the latter. I just choose to live a more optimistic point of view and say, look, I don't know when the end is going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be a good or bad experience when I get sick or when this thing hits, whatever, but it's not going to stop me what I'm doing today. Like, I'm going to continue to stay on my schedule. I'm going to continue to be productive. And guess what? If something happens and I'm good after this, I'm going to come out of this way better because I stuck to my schedule, because I stuck to my regiment, versus if I just spiral down out of control, I'm going to come out of this and be like, damn, I wasted all that time. I could have, would have, should have done this.
Wow. That's huge, man. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you learned something. If you have questions, email us at info@thelocalcrown.com. And if you want to get featured in our publication, Inside the Empire, alongside John Lee Dumas, the entrepreneur on fire, Jayson Waller, the CEO of Power Home Solar, Sharon Lechter, Dan Caldwell, the man that started Tap Out, and the limitless man himself, Jim Kwik, for free, then head over to thelocalcrown.com/become a contributor.